Japanese brown and tan on Harvey the Rabbit. This is a cast iron rabbit that you can find at Lawler Foundry. Here we're using the Sculpt Nouveau metal cleaner and a Scotch-Brite pad, but prior to this we sandblasted as well. Now you can get away without sandblasting, but sandblasting gives a more smooth appearance when you use a patina. So if you want it a little bit more patchy or mottled, then skip the sandblasting. But if you want a quick, smooth, clean reaction, sandblasting is ideal. Here we're using a 1-inch chip brush with 100% concentrate Japanese brown. We poured it straight into the cup just to make it a little bit easier, and we're just brushing it on. So you can see heat is involved. We've been heating this with the heat gun for a little while here. You can also do this with a torch, but wanted to show it a little bit different because we do a torch a lot. So here we're just trying not to have too much excess to avoid the runs, and it's just drying as we're heating it as well, and that's okay. Remember, Japanese brown can be done 3 different ways. It can be done completely cold and without rinsing, and for that you do need to wait to clear coat. You can do it with heat as a hot process, kind of like what we're doing here, or with a torch, and for that you don't need to rinse it. Or you can do it completely cold and then rinse it. So depending on what the overall effect you want, depends on what you need to do in order to work with the Japanese brown. We'll go ahead and speed up the rest of this so you can see the whole process for the Japanese brown on the rabbit, but essentially we're just brushing it on and heating it with the heat gun so it dries. Now this is making it so we don't have to rinse it, which makes us so we can move even faster. You can also use just the pump sprayer that it comes in. We just went with a brush just to change things up a little bit, but overall, however you get it onto the iron or steel, it's going to react. So now we're going to go in with the tan and water mixture, and I've mentioned this in other videos, but I like to use the tan at a 50% concentrate. So 50% tan, 50% distilled water, and you can see it's pretty runny. So usually try and shake off a little of the extra or just plan accordingly for it. Here you can see some of the brush strokes, but we're going to go back with the Japanese brown afterwards, and you won't be able to see near as many of them. I'll also kind of work it up and down, and we'll get some of those buffed out a little bit. But overall, I'm just going to do the entire rabbit with the white as well. I like it with just the Japanese brown, but I like this white or tan mixture as well. Kind of adds an extra element to it. If you try and use the tan at 100% concentrate, there's nothing wrong with that. Personally, I just feel like it's a little too strong to use at 100% concentrate. It really works better when you start diluting it. So here, when we put it on top of the Japanese brown, this isn't going to be our final coat either. We're going to go ahead and use the Japanese brown over the top of that once more. So what that does is it gives us a layered effect. So just like natural rust you see out, in the fields, if you were, you see multiple levels of rust because that's how nature works. It works in levels. So if you just do one level of Japanese brown, looks fine. There's nothing wrong with it. But essentially, if you want to get it looking more realistic or just really the next level, you got to do a little bit more. You got to layer it up. Just like if you're doing a fine painting. Yeah, you can look good on one layer of paint, but when you start getting multiple layers and shadows, that's when painting starts coming alive. So that's what we're doing here, is we're adding multiple layers to make it look even better. Now, when we go back with the Japanese brown, as I said before, it's going to start off light. It's going to start off almost like an orangey rust, and then we can build it up to be a darker rust. So now's your option that you can choose what you want it to look like. And when we get started here in just a second, you'll see it. It'll be really light, and then we'll build that up. And I'm going to go back with the spritzer bottle on this one, and it's just convenience. So watch as we spray here, kind of heat it up again, and you can see that kind of orangey. Sorry, the camera was on the wrong side there. Try and do it better on this one. But you'll see it just start slowly, and as we apply more and more Japanese brown, we'll get darker and darker. Other options for this kind of color you could use are like the ferric nitrate and tan. Those work as well. So even if you're using something that's not iron or steel and you want this kind of layered, kind of brownish look, the ferric nitrate and tan works pretty well as well. So still I would dilute the tan, but follow the same order. Ferric nitrate, tan, ferric nitrate, and you can get some cool effects. I've also done ferric nitrate tan Japanese brown, and you can get some really unique and really cool looking colors just by layering these patinas. Remember, traditionals don't necessarily like to be mixed, but you can layer, absolutely. And that's how you get those really cool and unique finishes that just come to life. So as we continue working on this and turning it around the table here, you can see that color really just coming to life. And you can see the individual little layers, if you will, almost like you would naturally see if you're looking at the fur of a rabbit. As the next layer of detail I want to put into this rabbit, I'm going to go in with a smaller brush with the tan mixture again and just do the ears, the tail, and the feet. Just again, knowing what rabbits often look like, we're going to try and just mimic that a little bit. So here we're going in with the ears, then again we're going to do the feet, just lighten those up a little bit, and the cottontail overall. So just a little bit more life, a little bit, again, more layers to add to these things. Just like if you were doing a bronze statue and you wanted the shirts and the pants and the hair and the skin on a person to look different, it's the same thing when you go to do like an animal. You've got to distinguish those features a little bit. So I'm not going to go over the top with the Japanese brown on this one. Again, we want it lighter, we want it almost whitish, so we're going to leave it just as is. And you can see I did less on the feet so it doesn't stand out as much as that tail. But the next layer of detail we're going to add is the eyes. So here we've got the Smart Stain 1 part black to 5 part Smart Coat matte, and we're just going to do the eyes and blacken those up a little bit. You can choose to use a lot of different patinas for the black in the eyes, universals, dioxides, black magic, slate black, but I like the Smart Stains because I can apply them with a brush, a hot process, and they're quick and easy. And now it's time for a clear coat. So we're going to go in with the ClearGuard EF matte on this guy, and we're going to go ahead and spray that, 2 coats of that. And I'm actually going to do Everclear on this a little bit later since it's going to be going outside in a garden. But ClearGuard is a good kind of primer for that Everclear. So I put ClearGuard down now, then I do Everclear when I'm ready to open up the can of Everclear. And here we have our final product of Japanese brown and tan with a little Smart Stain black on a cast iron piece. Japanese brown and tan are available at www.sculptnouveau.com.